if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office.
Well, I am a native of Topeka, Kansas. I really didn't have any idea when I moved across the state line after finishing my residency what the people over here thought of Jayhawks until I showed up in the doctor's locker room that first day at Independence Sanitarium. I had a surgeon who said he could smell me. And I didn't understand until I figured out what he was talking about. But I was born in Topeka at St. Francis Hospital, started my academic career kindergarten at Monroe Elementary, rather famous elementary school. I was there in 55 and 56. They integrated the school, so I used to get the chauffeur ride to Monroe from across town. And then the next year when they integrated the schools, I had to walk to school a block and a half, which, is come down. Grew up in an integrated neighborhood. We had, in our block, black people in the middle, white folks down on either end of the block, and then mixed in were Mexicans and Indians. So I've always lived in an integrated neighborhood. Went to an integrated elementary for most of my academic career. And then integrated junior high, though we were predominantly black, Mexican, Indians, mainly black. They considered it to be the black junior high because we were 15% black school. But we were known as the black junior high. And then I went to Topeka High where I graduated in 1968. In 68, considered and got accepted to several schools, but went to Washburn University because I planned to go to med school. I didn't want to be in debt. And I'd figured out if I went to Washburn, I could work part-time, and I had scholarship money, grant money, and it fared fairly well because I graduated with no debt at all when I started med school. And those were good days in med school because tuition in med school was $1,500 a year. I cried for these current students. And that seemed like a lot then. Went to University of Kansas med school, started in 72, finished in 76. It really was my first taste of institutional racism, because we had a difficult time. It's too long to go into there, but it's an interesting topic for conversation. Though once I finished there, I'd planned to leave KU, but I'd done a rotation in anesthesia, and some of the techniques in anesthesia I found out I had good hands, which we'll leave that alone. But some of the techniques just were, I had a knack for, and the department head said, stay, and he said, I'll look after you and you don't have to worry about some of the other things that had happened while we were there. So I had a great time. I had a great time in med school, even though there's a lot of underlying things that were going on, and I've always been blessed to be around what I always considered wonderful people. I've never had a bad day except for when things don't go perfectly. But blessed to have a loving home, being brought up by Christian parents. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and I try to conduct myself. I've come a long way. From the person I used to be, the man I am, is much more kinder, loving, gentler person, mastered and pretty much controlled my temper. The reason I chose to apply and register as a candidate is because after all the bugaboo we had here, which was kind of embarrassing to be in Lee Summit, and see all that when I didn't think it really reflected the people I know and my experience in Lee Summit. I know this is this Midwest relatively conservative area in a lot of ways, but I've found most of the people I've encountered, especially in the workplace, have been open-minded, and I've been blessed to work with wonderful people. Medical community, you know, perhaps everyone feels the same way. I always thought we were the nicest, most highest level of integrity people on the planet. I'd look at my lawyer friends and say, yeah, that's all right. But the other reason, I used to have my lawyer friends, and it was a current climate. I used to, talking to young people, talking to everyone, you always hear politicians lie. How would you have a profession that everyone considers what you say to be questionable? One of the hallmarks for those of us who ask to take care of other people's loved ones is that we tell the truth. You know, I'd never go to a doctor who lied to me. You know, I told my patients, I used to tell them, I said, I try very hard to tell the truth. And they'd ask me, why is it so hard? I said, you have to remember, if you make a mistake, and it's an honest mistake that you just didn't know, some people will consider that to be a lie. And you may not get the opportunity to come back and explain it. I made a mistake. I didn't know. So I always told them, if I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know, and I'll try to find out. And there's some things we don't know. If there are those things that I know, or as far as I know we don't know, I'll tell you, no one knows. But I'll give the best answer that I have. That's the truth. And I feel like that's the basis of my relationships with people, is that I'll tell you what I think, and I'd like to be civil. You know, people have this thing about political correctness. Well, I don't think there's much advantage most of the time in insulting people, although I told the folks that I work with that one thing I don't curse people, because where I grow up, if you curse a man, you're asking for a fight. So if you curse me, you may get slugged. I'll go to jail for that. Or I'll ask you to reconsider what you said, and don't call me a liar. If I told something that wasn't true, bring it up to me, and we'll go find out. But I'm not going to just say something just to get rid of it. So, you know, I think with most people that works to have a decent relationship. And when I was able to retire, not retire because, well, I was tired of it. Love to work, but I have a chronic illness, disease, sarcoidosis, which is non-caseating granulomatous disease, autoimmune, doctor jargon. But anyway, it scars my lungs, and it scarred my lungs, and slowly, I didn't realize, you know, even a physician, I knew I had it, but I didn't understand or appreciate what it feels like, because I didn't know what being tired was. We work, you know, and when you love what you do, you can do it forever. Dr. Herzog knows that when you finish your training and you go do it, you can do it so much that if you don't watch out, you'll rob from the people you care the most about and spend too much time working. And we were all admonished that by a great physician, Max Allen, over at KU. He told us, you're going to love what you do so much that you can do it all day and all night. Don't cheat your wife. Find someone that loves you enough to put up with you. In those days, most of the time it was a wife. But now your significant other, which is fine too. And your children. If your patients need you, the people you love need you just as much. And then for education, education is the future. It's somewhat embarrassing to me to watch Jimmy Kimmel Live and see him do those interviews where people bring up falsehoods and they try to make up something that fits, and you say, is anybody that stupid? But yes, they are. They don't know. It was embarrassing also last year when I would listen to the Homeland Secretary, what's her name, Nielsen, who didn't know, being a college grad, that the dominant ethnic group in Norway was Caucasian, which I find anybody who, hopefully anyone that graduates from a Lee Summit High School would know such a fact. And any university that would produce a graduate that doesn't know that should be embarrassed about the graduates they produce, in my opinion, because it's just basic facts. We hope our products learn. Just look at the map.
Well, I think so that we don't run out of time, we're going to move on, all right? You ready?
Saving grace and anesthesia that you have to
If
go.
we have any
You have to
time
start
at the end, it's all
You have to
yours.
start the case. So when you run out, I'll talk them to sleep if that would work, but otherwise, shoot the drug.
All right. What experiences have helped you prepare for the professionalism and leadership required of school board members?
Well, having a reasonable fund of knowledge and fairly good ability, in my opinion, and others have told me, being able to work with others, having a decent business sense, honest person, kind-hearted. What do you need? You know, it's a citizen of the USA that pays his taxes, gets along with my neighbors, don't have any enemies that I know of. What are you looking for in a school board?
Okay. How does our district maintain and continue to improve its services and reputation?
Working with our staff and stressing that to every member of organization I work with, hospital. Thing I found out in hospitals. As I worked in a hospital, that's been my place. Everyone in that hospital that I encountered, from the maintenance people, the groundskeepers on the outside, the best of our housekeeping department, food service department, the laundry department, had one goal: make sure we took care of the patients. And not everyone there lived up to that, but the best of them did. I love the housekeepers that would come and do the job the way it's supposed to be done. There's a right way to do things. And as a district or any organization, high quality people are what you look for. You can't pay them enough. You know, one of the things that in an office we had, you recruit good people, you train them up, pretty soon, especially when they're young, they're so good at what they do, they're too expensive. And so they have to go work somewhere else, but people hire them away from you. And I always wish them well. But I said, we don't need you to take someone who's that we already have in that position, so fly. I think a school district should always be recruiting the best teachers they can get and making those who are there better. I always told my partners and told my staff is that our goal is to make one another better. I said, my goal is to make their job easy, and their goal is to make me look good. If I do my job, I don't have to work that hard. But every once in a while, I get to show that I do know a little something. And, you know, our job as leaders in the community school board is to make the superintendent's job as easy as we can by helping him, by giving him the resources that can allow him to do his job, which is to recruit the best personnel and into position so they can recruit the best personnel. And then as we bring in staff, teachers, which the backbone, recruit the best that we can get. And, you know, and it worked in my little tiny church I go to. So it's worked in any group I've ever been in.
Okay. The R7 district bylaws clearly define the relationship between the school board and R7 staff. Please describe how you envision your working relationship with staff.
Well, they don't work for me. They work for the district. And I'm just perhaps a voice to refer to those who are in charge of running the district. I have no problem with reading what the rules are, living by the rules. That's whatever it says I can do, I will do. And what it's off limit, I'll tell people that's not my job.
Okay. Please summarize your qualifications and level of financial expertise appropriate to govern an approximate $300 million school district budget.
Well, my household budget is nowhere near that. So, you know, those aren't numbers that I can live and just work with those who do know what the value of this as far as materials, buildings and all that can assess and have a reasonably good idea on when someone's giving me a snow job or not. I'm a fairly good judge of character, so that you let experts do, you know, if you're gonna hire them, get your money's worth. You know, I don't tell other people how to do their job, and I don't expect others to tell me how to do my job. So whatever, I don't see that I'm going to micromanage things like that. As a board member, mine is to give general direction on what do the citizens of Lee Summit want. And I give my opinion about what the citizens of Lee Summit want and what they tell me they want, and I can tell them what my visions are, you know. But when you're elected to something, you serve those who are there. And if there's a conflict, then let us reason together to see if we can work this out. Why I think this and why you think that. There should be some meeting point.
Okay. What is your approach to conflict resolution among board members?
I've crossed paths with people who I thought were completely unreasonable, and usually that leads to a split of some sort. I think there's some things that, you know, the public deserves to know the truth. In a school board or any business, there's some things that are confidential. You can't, you know, those things that are agreed upon that are confidential, there's no problem with confidentiality. The public needs to know the truth. I want to make sure that they have confidence that they're getting the truth from me and the school board. That's a level of integrity that people who know what they're getting, they'll make their decision. as far as difficult people, you know, I look at the mess they have up in Clay County. Well, there's been some obvious lining of people's pockets, and they feel like it's theirs, and the people have voted for that, and that's what they have right now. They'll have their election, and they should get that resolved. If differences between school board members, I guess we have a discussion in private amongst ourselves, and the majority rules in issues like that, and that's just how that is.
Okay. Please describe a group deliberation experience in which you held a minority opinion but were ultimately successful in reaching a consensus.
Well, let's see. Years ago, it came end of the year time, which is a very happy time in a small corporation where you manage your money very well, and then you decide to divvy up the profits among the partners. And everyone, usually, you know, you're very generous up until the time is you find out how much money you had to divvy up. And as a rule, what my experience was, if we decided up front what proportion each segment, partners versus employees, or if employees, decided up front, especially with junior partners, employees always fared better. Because once people found out how much there was to divvy up, everyone's eyes got kind of big about how much I should get. So I once had gone to a conference and spoke with a larger group and discussed how they did it, which made sense to me. We say, we'll just have edicts, and this is what we're going to do. This group gets this percent, that group, they get that percent, and whatever the amounts come out to. But that worked out 1 year. And then we went back to the old way, where they started out to do, well, they could just be getting a ham. I said, if you give these $100,000 employees a ham, you won't have any $100,000 employees. So it's interesting, this human nature. That's how we are as people. We can get pretty selfish. It always worked out until you get big enough and you get enough junior partners that they're ready to get theirs sooner. So
Yeah.
there's always peace.
Please explain the roles of district leadership, superintendent and school board, with respect to the broader community.
School board superintendent is the person that represents the district. And so, you know, he's like the pastor in the church, where everyone looks and everything is referred to how well they're doing. He gets all the credit. If he takes all the credit, you know, he's a wise person, gives it where it did, you know, and realizes that his staff is the one that's making him look good. And he'll get all his because he answers to a board, and the board answers to the district. The district happy that he'll be taken care of. The relationship, our job is to make his, my thinking is to make his as easy as possible, and getting the public, the citizens, to want to have a excellent system producing the best citizens in the country. Someone that, when they say they're from Lee Summit, it means that, well, we expect a lot out of you. They're all our grads. And also improving and the graduation rate. You know, it costs a lot to be born in this country. There's a basic investment that everyone who is born, that we all pay for. And to allow so many to just be thrown into the trash heap because for whatever reason they don't like school, which how can you not like school when you're a kid? You know, most kids, all kids, they think they want to grow up, but we got to make it as attractive as we can, so that you don't have to pay so much because they want to come here.
Current data provided by our school district shows certain subsets of students are underperforming in math, science, and other categories. How do you interpret this data and propose the LSR 7 board address it?
So much performance, predictive of academic achievement is for most children's who they're born to. We could say it's not all genetics because that helps, but being born to a family that values education, the only way we can assist those who aren't blessed to be born to parents that care enough to come and support their children is to promote that more ourselves within the district. One of the sad things for me and that I see in our society is that we're way behind on our preschool. I was down in Jamaica a couple of years ago. They have compulsory preschool for 3-year-olds. And so their 3-year-olds classes are like our kindergarten classes. Well, they're a relatively poor society. They figured out getting those kids enthusiastic and liking, enjoying school enhances their performance. So what do we see here? We see a lot of people from Jamaica come up here well educated. And we see American kids, I've crossed paths with many of them in service industries that are bright young people that I never did like school. I said, that's very common in our district. We at least when I came here, at least some didn't have much lower income housing, and now they have more. The people that have lower incomes in our society don't seem to, not all of them, but too many of them just do not get that preschool, that early childhood education. Too many of it's not just economics, it happens in higher economic places too. But that's a place where we can see dramatic improvement if we get started. Start with those kindergartners and work down if we can and help foster that.
Okay. What do you consider major challenges and priorities for the district, and how will you address?
Well, how would I address? I'm gonna pray. Getting a little more harmony. I've spoken to some people who have had recent graduates of some of the high schools, and one was telling me about how the nature of one of the high schools, Lee Summit North, he was speaking of how that's changed so much since when my sons graduated from Lee Summit North, both of them, and how the makeup of the school has changed a lot, and the behavior in many of the students is so different, but that's common in a lot of high schools. This is just a general trend in our society that it just seems to have snowballed. It's kind of what can we as a district do is the best we can to maintain some kind of standards ourselves, and hope that others take the example.
Okay. What do you believe should be a primary focus of the school board and your role as a board member?
Well, school board for me, one we always have to be focusing on how to get more funds for the district. I've heard the nonsense that many say in our society that just throwing money at it doesn't solve the problem. Well, that doesn't solve the problem, but I don't know why we throw money at everything else that we want to improve, whether it solves it or not. We know one thing: we can throw all the money at the military that we want. It won't solve all our problems, and we've tried that, and we're still fighting a 20-year war. So we know that if we educate people, we'll reduce crime rate. You know, we know that. All our social workers would tell us that. They had the numbers to show it. So getting our society, our community to understand that, yes, we speak all the time about how important teachers are, but we don't really like to pay out of the pocket to see that they get paid more when the product is the most valuable thing. Our educational experience makes a difference in all the world in our lives. Mm-hmm. So making sure that there's enough funding and better funding so we have the best facilities, and we'd like to have the best paid teachers, the happiest group of teachers. We want to have people that are willing to come here to teach and make less money. Not have to make less money, but if they would rather be here than be somewhere else. So we want to have a place where people want to come.
Okay.
I think that's what the school board should be pushing to have, is to get a place where they come, you know. And we'll brag about taking less money for coming.
Okay. What is your long-term vision for our district?
Long-term vision, be the best school district in the country, produce the best citizens in the state of Missouri, and have a community where people move here for the school district. I've had that some in the past. I'd like to maintain that, but a lot of the people that we see that cause them some of the issues that we have mentioned moved here because of the district. Mm-hmm. Years ago, we had people move here because of the district. And